$100 million lawsuit in a Georgia court, upset that despite Shedeur Sanders' incredible skills and projection to go high in the first round, the slide through the draft has now caused this poor individual terrible psychological harm. What a joke. The way that they have just, as an institution, just rolled over and just made it Deion world, that's a clown show. The thing here that is remarkable is who could possibly be a better mentor than Tom Brady? Tom Brady is captain of the all guys who get it trademark symbol.
And now a man who still wonders what the hell happened to Chuck Cunningham. It's Ricky Cobb.
Oh yeah, and welcome you sweet bastards. We have a Colorado fan, unnamed, who has filed a $100 million lawsuit in a Georgia court claiming that, among other things, this person has suffered emotional distress and trauma, resulting in frustration, disappointment, and psychological harm because Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to the fifth round in the NFL draft. This fan going on to claim that they followed Shedeur Sanders closely in 2023 and 2024. They were invested, this individual. Even attended the Buffaloes game against TCU that got us all excited a couple of years ago. And the fan obviously enjoyed it very much, regularly consumes Shedeur Sanders media content, and is upset that despite Shedeur Sanders' incredible skills and projection to go high in the first round, the slide through the draft has now caused this poor individual terrible psychological harm. So we can only imagine. I didn't know that this was an option. You can sue for $100 million because something goes wrong with somebody that you cheer for. I can't imagine the class action lawsuit that we could have had here in Chicago before the Cubs won the 2016 World Series. Psychological devastation. The entire city of Cleveland, where Shedeur is now, God only knows the billion, the trillions. It'd be the gross domestic product of some countries that those people would be entitled to if this kind of thing ever gets traction. So I don't know. They ought to throw that straight out of court and then smack this individual right in the ass for this. What kind of a move are we talking about here? This grandstanding. See, we got shit like this eating up our resources in courts and in the political system. Fans who are emotionally distressed. Well, someone who isn't emotionally distressed, but who might be getting tired of being called Shedeur Sanders' quote-unquote mentor, which I have heard more than once in recent days, Tom Brady, talking to Logan Paul on, I believe, the Impulsive podcast about his thoughts on what went wrong and why Shedeur slid so far down the draft list.
We're talking about going late in the draft. Elephant in the room, Shedeur Sanders. What happened, Tom? Why did he go so late in the draft?
I mean, it's a good question. I wasn't a part of any evaluation process or to
Skip Bayless
see
says
that.
otherwise.
No. Well, everyone's got that's the problem with media is everyone can just say whatever the fuck they want and get away with it.
Crazy.
It's kind of unfortunate because there actually used to be a lot of integrity in media.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of integrity in media until Skip Bayless came along and fucked it all up for everybody. He's like patient X for sports media, just going down the fucking drain, Skip Bayless. But Tom Brady being called Shedeur's mentor, going on to say that he reached out to Shedeur after the draft, talked to him about it. Brady obviously knows a little something about going late in a draft, 6th round pick, but nobody was talking Tom Brady up when he was coming out of Michigan, that he was going to be anything more than that. So a very different circumstance than what we found with Shedeur Sanders, who we were all shocked. Let's face it. We were all shocked. I think, maybe you weren't, but the general the royal we, I think we were very surprised that he was going to slide to even the 2nd round. And when he didn't get taken in the second round, it's like, are you kidding me? He's going to the third round. And he goes all the way to the point where we're starting to wonder, is he going to get drafted at all? So $100 million proposition for some asshole in Georgia. We'll see how that plays itself out. By the way, Shedeur Sanders is going to be wearing Tom Brady's number in Cleveland. He has chosen the number 12. So we'll see how that goes. You could stand to learn a little bit more from Tom Brady than what number to wear, Shedeur. Because for me, the thing here that is remarkable is who could possibly be a better mentor than Tom Brady about being not just a great quarterback, but being a professional. Tom Brady is captain of the all guys who get it trademark symbol in this world. Tom Brady understands the importance of details almost to a fault. You don't need to be having kale shakes in March because you're worried about the season kicking off in 6 months. But Tom Brady did that because Tom Brady's a maniac and he wanted every advantage that he could possibly have. He was completely invested all the time. You tell me where the story is of Tom Brady not being a good teammate. You won't find one. You'll hear 1,000 different stories about Tom Brady walking up to rookies in the locker room and saying, hey, I'm Tom. Nice to meet you. This is a guy who understands that little stuff is big stuff. And Shedeur doesn't get that. And what's worse is Shedeur doesn't get it despite having the incredible resource of Tom Brady at his disposal whenever he wants. Unlike 99.999% of the functioning world. And you still can't figure it out. What would he have done during these interviews if he didn't know Tom Brady? So clean it up, Shedeur. You don't have any excuses. I know your dad is your dad. And I know that that's the guy that raised you. So maybe you do have a little bit of an excuse, but you got every resource in the world to get this right. And if it doesn't get through your head, what happened when you slid all the way to the 5th round? If you don't understand why, if you don't know why the New York Giants were upset because you didn't find the mistakes that were in the playbook, etc., etc., etc. We got all these data points that indicate that you're not as sharp as you should be. You don't have any excuses if you don't get it right. You got every resource that there is. The resource that I enjoyed the most back in the 80s when I was in high school may have been this, my friends. I used to pick it up every morning on my way to Caverna High School. 2 quarters right out in front of the Cave City Minute Mart. Throw up a hand if you remember when the USA Today sports section was absolutely worth your 50 cents. I would take that thing into school, fold it strategically between classes so that I could read a different portion of it during each period. By the time I got to 2:15 and school let out, I had digested all of the sports page and probably half of the life section as well. Should have been reading the money section if I had been smarter. Let's talk a little bit more about Shedeur here. Because if you had opened up the USA Today back around, 1990, you might have found some stories about Darien, Hagen, and the Colorado Buffaloes there. Do you remember Darien Hagen? Some of you of a certain age, that name probably rings a bell, and it should. Darien Hagen was the quarterback on the 1990 championship Colorado Buffaloes team. And I mean national champions, all right? 3 times Darien Hagen led Colorado to Big 8 championships. He was 28-5-2 as a starter at Colorado. He finished 5th in the 1989 Heisman Trophy balloting, 2 times first team all Big 8. And in his 3 years as a starter, in which, in case you're not paying attention, I just said they won the Big 8 3 years in a row, including one national championship. He went 20-0-1 against Big 8 opposition. Didn't lose a conference game as a sophomore, junior, or senior. You may not remember that Darien Hagen wore number 3. And this is important because Darien Hagen's been paying attention to the fact that Shedeur Sanders got his number retired. And Darien Hagen, by his own account, and I love the fact that he chose this word because it's the perfect word for this, Darien Hagen saying that he is, in fact, flabbergasted. This motherfucker is so thrown for a loop, he's reaching back and using words that are barely even hanging on in the lexicon to try to gather an accurate telling of his emotions. Darien Hagen going on to say, we were always told that there was a waiting period, and he's referring to getting your number retired. There was a policy in place. It had to be voted upon. I was never told that it was at the discretion of an athletic director or a head coach. That was shocking news to me. It was hard to stomach. Shedeur Sanders finished 8th in Heisman Trophy voting, and he went 13-12 in 2 years at Colorado, including 1-7 against top 25 opposition. His number, of course, is already retired. Darien Hagen, 35 years, after leading Colorado to a national championship and finishing 5th in Heisman Trophy balloting, not losing a single conference game while leading Colorado to 3 Big 8 championships, still in the queue. We haven't even talked about Eric Bieniemy. We haven't even talked about Cordell Stewart. What a fucking joke that is. The entitlement. Now, from one kind of joke to another, neither are amusing, and especially this one is not. And this is a story that you wouldn't find in the USA Today or anywhere else in your newspaper. Even a short time ago, if you look at the evolution of American society, but Nike continues to be evasive about answering the allegations that they've sponsored studies to reduce the inherent biological advantages that males enjoy when they transition to being female. We're on day 17 now, and Nike has yet to say more than a word salad about the reports that are out there that they funded studies on puberty blockers and hormone therapy that might make it where transgender girls do not have what is sometimes referred to as retained male advantage in athletic performance. Basically meaning if you're born a man, you're a man, and there are physical advantages that go with that, generally speaking. Nike alleged to be funding studies on kids as young as 12 years old. Representative Burgess Owens of Utah, who just happens to also be a 10-year NFL veteran, is not having it. He posted a comment on X recently saying, if Nike funded experiments on young children to justify putting boys in girls' sports, the American people deserve answers. If it's true, it's not just wrong, it's pure evil. Time to speak up, Nike. All that we have at this point is Nike's response to OutKick that said a study was quote unquote never initialized and is quote unquote not moving forward. OutKick reached out to Nike to respond to Burgess's comments here, Mr. Owens, but Nike did not respond to the request. So that is where we are right now with this Nike story. If I'm Nike, and this is going around, and it's being suggested that Nike was funding, being a part of experiments on children that involve puberty blockers and hormone therapy, children as young as 12, and I wasn't a part of that, Nike as an organization, as a business entity, did not do that, wouldn't you want to come out and say you didn't do it? Why the silence? I think a lot of us are reading between the lines, and we are reading the silence to mean that there's something to this, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to address it publicly. Maybe they just want it to go away, but I think you have to answer to it. And the pressure is going to be maintained on Nike to say something about this, to speak about it, because again, here we're talking about things being done to children as young as 12 that can have lifelong impact. Children are not guinea pigs. Minor children are not guinea pigs, particularly in an area such as this. So Nike, we wait for you to step up and clarify what has or hasn't happened, what you have or haven't been involved in. Stephen A. Smith continues to be involved in flirting with the idea that he could be president one day, but Stephen A. can't make up his mind. One day, I may have to run for president one day. I don't want to, but I may have to do this. I'm going to be called to do it. I don't want to, but somebody's going to have to step up to restore order to the Democratic Party. We hear that vibe from Stephen A. on some days. Other days, we get the false humility of how he doesn't really want to do this. And Donald Trump recently saying that he thinks that Stephen A. running would be a fine idea. Stephen A. saying that he was aghast to hear Donald Trump be supportive of his ambitions. Stephen A. going on to say, I wasn't looking for any kind of endorsement from anybody. Bullshit. But especially not looking for it from him. But he is the president of the United States, Stephen A. says, and so there's a little bit of flattery that comes with that. We shall see. We shall see. It's 2025, 2028. Look, if Stephen A. is up there, it's going to be great theater, if it is nothing else. And let me now welcome to the program a man who I'm sure has thoughts on this and all the other things that we have discussed to this point in the program. He is, of course, the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee. He is Ronnie T-Shirts. Ronnie, I don't even know where I want to begin here with you.
Darien
Let's go
Hagen.
back to Colorado. Yeah,
Yep,
let's go
Darien
back to
Hagen.
Colorado and Darien Hagen.
You know
Because
what?
we talked about Cordell, we talked about Eric Bieniemy, but look at Darien Hagen's resume. Look at Shedeur's resume at Colorado. This isn't a popularity contest like at your high school where, hey, who's going to be student president or whatever, and everybody just votes for the quarterback and the prom queen or whatever, or the kid that's perceived as the valedictorian, whoever's popular. You tell me, if I was Darien Hagen, I'd be so fucking mad. I'd be worse than flabbergasted.
Yeah,
Rod.
but Darien Hagen has something super glaring that's not on his resume, and I mean it makes all the sense in the world. His daddy isn't the coach. That's not on his resume. Like that's what's missing, Ricky. And he
Coach's kid.
100%.
We've said it
and
before.
You said it wasn't a
Shedeur, just
popularity contest.
contemptible. Coach's kid.
It actually was a popularity contest, right? And Deion had the only vote. It's just sad, man.
Yeah. Shouldn't be, but was,
Darien's
for sure.
got to be 55-ish right now. Like this should have happened. Like this should have happened.
He's been waiting for like 75% of his life. Ron.
I know.
2/3 of his life. I guess. More accurately.
It's just so insulting. It's just insulting, not to Darien. It's just insulting to the whole kind of process and kind of what sports is. I mean, you just ask anybody, a sports fan, and this is what this is all about, right? Sports is about, from the fan standpoint, it's just about being entertained. But we're so invested. I mean, we're so invested that some guy in Colorado, had to file a lawsuit. But you ask any sports fan, and part of part of what we like and part of what we expect. There's a process and there's traditions and there's just ways that we do things. And what happened in Colorado, it's just insulting to the whole process. And I personally don't care. I'm not a Colorado fan, but I can tell you, man, if I was a Colorado fan, I would not be happy, because what it does is it just makes your university look stupid. And that's really what it did. It makes Colorado look stupid.
Dude, it's like when Harold Baines went into the Hall of Fame. And I hate to be one of those guys to like pinpoint one or two really bad Hall of Fame selections and then use it as the justification for why everybody should be in, right? This guy's better than Harold Baines. That guy's better than Harold Baines. It creates this slippery slope, and the conversation gets out of hand quickly. But, oh my God, forget about Darien Hagen. I mean, if we're basing it on merit, what they did with Shedeur Sanders, there's got to be a lot of other people who had legitimately great careers at that school who are thinking, what the fuck's going on? But Darien Hagen may have the best argument of all. He quarterbacked them to a national championship, 3 Big 8 titles. Shedeur had 1 win over a top 25 team.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And Ricky, I talked about this.
It's so ridiculous the way that they have just, as an institution, just rolled over and just made it Deion world.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a clown show.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
I mentioned this in a previous show, and I truly believe this. And again, this is this old guy, right? This is old guy that's been around, that's experienced life, and they took something away from Travis and Shedeur by giving him that honor so quickly after their college career. They took away that special moment that we talked about. It's when you're 30, you're 35 years old, your career is over, and you go out there and you're with your family and you're with your kids, and your kids are wearing your old college jersey, and you get to feel that, and you get to feel this, just like this outpouring of love from the stadium. He doesn't get that now. Like, they took that away from him. It's kind of like, you think about sometimes when you're raising your kids and your kids want to do things earlier in life, right? And you're like, no, you just need to wait. You don't do everything right. As soon as you want something, you just don't do it. You've got to wait. And sometimes it's just better to wait.
Ron, you're right. They took it away from Travis Hunter. Like, just enjoy the Heisman for a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just enjoy. You won the Heisman Trophy. At this point, retiring your number it's kind of overkill, right? But the thing about Shedeur is, I feel like Shedeur's more in the category.
He doesn't deserve it.
He's more in the category, like, it's like the old saying: if it's a good idea now, it'll still be a good idea tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It'll still be a good idea next week. It'll still be a good idea next month, in terms of, trying to get a little patience out of your children, or trying to coach yourself into having greater patience, whatever the situation may be. 10 years from now, I don't even think anybody would be thinking about having Shedeur back.
Right.
Deion will probably be gone in a few years. He'll probably burn bridges when he goes.
Oh, they'll be tired of him. They'll get tired of his act.
So what are you going to do? What's the resume? Can you imagine 20 years from now if you were reviewing Shadeur's resume and you're like, well, he went 13 and 12.
There's going to be a show.
Beat a top 25 team once.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be a show, and he'll be reading the stats just like you read Darien stats, and they'll be reading Shedeur's stats, and the host will just be like, wait, what? He went what? 13 and 12?
He threw for a lot of yards. He threw for a lot of yards.
Yeah, you know why?
He set some records.
Because their defense sucked, and they had to come back in every game. Like, that's why he threw for so many yards.
No lies detected, Ron.
Ricky, we're going to go to the great state of Ohio. Nothing makes me prouder than telling a story from Ohio. So this woman, Victoria Vidal, was driving, and for some reason she must have looked suspicious, because the police ran her tags and found out that the owner of that car had a warrant out for their arrest and a suspended driving license. And we've got some video to show you what happens next. I'll just tell you, Ricky, it involves meth and a raccoon.
Hello?
The raccoon has her meth pipe.
As what?
Oh my God.
Her meth pipe. He's playing with the meth pipe right now. No, don't reach for it. That's evidence now.
Oh, I don't want him to have that.
That's why I'm gonna do it. Hey, buddy.
Huh?
It's okay.
Okay, you're on Island. He'll be here in 2 minutes. I'm right across from my house.
Take a look at Victoria. She's 55.
Yeah,
That's
this is what
does
she's
to
smoking
you.
meth in.
She looks like she's 80.
The raccoon's playing with her meth pipe.
All right.
Oh, there's no
Nice.
way. He's trying to smoke
Cobb's
it.
just
All right. Thanks.
There's no way.
And it turns
nice
out that
professionalism from the
All
cop
right,
here.
all right.
this
Make
raccoon's
fun.
name is
Just-
Chewy, and it is actually registered as a pet, so it was not
Holy
a
hell.
wild animal.
Oh.
You know what I thought, Ron?
Keep
I
an
thought
eye.
that
She's
that
trying to
woman
take the
might
meth
not
pipe
have
out
been
of the car. Just
responsible
keep an eye on
enough
her
to
real quick.
register her raccoon. I'm surprised to learn that that animal was registered. She didn't look like somebody that would have any
I mean,
fucks to give.
she
about
can't
driving
figure out
around
how to
with
get
an
an ID.
unregistered raccoon.
She can't figure out to get an ID to vote, but she could register her raccoon as a pet.
Well,
Ricky, did
my
you see?
God.
Did you look at her? She's
they better let her
55.
vote. Chuck
Dude, she's
Schumer will be so upset.
55.
Well, you killed me.
She looks like she's 80.
I was gonna say she was 32. Meth is no joke, dude. Meth will fuck you up. I'm always reminded of Charles Barkley saying that he never tried cocaine, and the reason that he never tried it is because he was afraid he would like it. Which is a good reason to not try it, quite frankly. But yeah, meth. What kind of an example was she setting for her raccoon?
For the raccoon.
Ron?
For Chewy?
All right,
For Chewy?
we got time for one more. I know
All right.
have two in the chamber.
All right. So this one's a little bit
ahead.
I think a little bit more serious, Ricky. Listen, I'm all for people and for companies to have stances and beliefs for whatever they want, right? But I need you to not be a hypocrite, and I need you to stand strong in your convictions. And if you feel a certain way, then feel that way and take it all the way out. You don't get to pick and choose when you feel a certain way. So it was just announced a couple hours ago. I saw it, Clay broke it, that Disney is going to have a new theme park in Abu Dhabi. Okay. Well, Disney, which is, owns ESPN, they clearly are a woke company, and that's okay if they're a woke company, right? Do you have whatever stance you want and live by it? And so 3 years ago, as Clay tweeted here, ESPN had an on-air moment where they had a moment of silence to protest Florida's quote unquote "Don't Say Gay" bill, which was bullshit anyway. But Disney is now going to have a theme park in a place where homosexuality is illegal, Ricky. I don't understand. I do not understand.
Well, Ron,
the hypocrisy.
I do understand because
Money?
It's all virtue. Well, yes, it's virtue signaling. Say one thing, but money is really king. Money is what really matters at the end of the day. So they'll take one policy here in the United States and they'll signal themselves to be so virtuous and so good, and then they'll go internationally and they will rake in millions, billions of dollars with positions that are absolutely antithetical to what they're telling the average American person that they believe. It's hypocrisy at its richest.
Yeah, so we have up here, I found some of the laws that are in Abu Dhabi. So same-sex activity is criminalized under the United Arab Emirates Penal Code and Sharia law. Big penalties for it. They are not happy with transgender people. The list goes on, Ricky. And it's disgusting, the
Beheading.
hypocrisy.
Death penalty, beheading.
Now, that is true. That is a possible possible penalty. Now, I have read that it's never actually been done. They've never actually executed somebody for this. But just the fact that these laws are on the books there, and Disney's like, we don't care.
Imagine if Florida had a law on the books
Mm-hmm.
that you could behead somebody for that. Florida has never done it.
Right.
But they have a law on the book. Can you
Right.
imagine what would happen in this country?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what would happen in this country? Can you imagine the position that they would take, that Disney would take on this?
The outrage.
That ESPN would take on that?
The
it
outrage
would be the worst
unbelievable.
thing that had ever happened. And look, and I'm telling you, it would be a bad thing. Obviously, it would be a terrible thing, and they would be correct. But why is it that it's not so bad if it's in another country? Why is it that we can go and build a theme park there? Isn't
Disney
good,
basically
bad? Isn't right,
basically
and evil?
Yeah. Basically, Disney's full of crap,
Yeah.
Ricky.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.